tuned in to The Andrew Lawton Show.
Welcome back to the Andrew Lawton Show. Well, as you saw in the first segment there, spoke to a lot of people when I was in Ottawa for the Freedom Convoy, and if, as it sounds like, this is something that's going to be there for the long haul, I will certainly be back. But one person I wanted to bring into this discussion is Benjamin Dichter, who I've crossed paths with a number of times over the years as an organizer in the Conservative movement and formerly a Conservative Party of Canada candidate as well. And he has been putting a lot of this together. He's been a spokesperson for it, although as he said, it's difficult to make this about a single organizer because of how many people are involved. Benjamin Dichter, good to talk to you, sir. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me on, man.
So as someone who's organized things before, the big challenge is that you can put all these efforts in place. You never really know what's going to happen until it happens. So when you kind of looked out your window on Saturday, you walked out on the streets, did you think it would be as big as it was?
We had an idea that it would be big before we got there. And that's where the growing pains set in, because we initially thought it was going to be small. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, Elon Musk is retweeting us, and then it goes global, and Jordan Peterson is all over us. So the momentum that we carried just went parabolic. And that just, for any sort of organizational structure, that becomes very difficult to deal with. And then the bottlenecks set in because you've created these backlogs, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
Let's talk about the organizational aspect of this, because it's a grassroots movement by and large, but there's also been a fair bit of coordination. So how much is just people that are saying, yeah, I support you, that are showing up in Ottawa, versus stuff that you and the people you are working with are doing and managing along the way?
It started with a core team in Alberta. I joined very early, I think the first day after they started, 24 hours or so, maybe 48 hours is when I was called in. And, you know, you just have more people start tacking on, and then the division of labor, we do the best that we can. But unlike a typical organizational structure where everybody's in the office and you can say, okay, let's put this person on the board, that person on the board. Everybody's in a truck. Everybody's mobile.
And not always with cell reception.
Most of the time not. So I'm trying to get a hold of Tamara. I can't get a hold of her for 2-3 hours. I send her a text message. We're in the middle of a conversation. It drops. So that just became a nightmare. And that's why when we got to Ottawa, all of these conversations and, you know, to-do lists that I had and other people, we just had this mess of things, 50 people in a room trying to figure out, okay, who's done what, who hasn't done what, where are the trucks? We still don't know how many trucks are there. There's parking lots and farmers' fields full of trucks right now outside of Ottawa that can't get in the city, on top of everybody that's in the city. And now we have a convoy of Americans that are on the Montana-Alberta border that it's taking hours and hours to process them, and they're coming here.
So let me ask you what you're after here, because originally a lot of people were positioning this as being just about the cross-border trucker mandate, which was certainly a very, I think that was a catalytic thing. I think it certainly galvanized this, but you said at a press conference on Sunday that we'll talk about in a moment that you're really seeking the end of all COVID restrictions, federal and provincial. So you want Canada to do the Denmark, the UK, the Ireland thing. Is that a fair characterization?
100%. So, you know, our message was end the mandates and the passport. But the idea is that would get us back to life. Because once you do that, then the momentum is just to carry on and go back to life as normal. You know, take the face diapers off and all of that nonsense. All of that. I mean, people don't have, I think, the will to keep on this way. And once they realize, okay, the government's starting to remove all these restrictions, the rest will fall.
Let's talk about the mask thing here, because I've never been one of these people that has made a point of going into stores without a mask. And my view on this is that my grievance is with the government, not the stores. And I know that there have been over the last 2 years individual confrontations of people that won't wear a mask, and whatever the case may be, that has happened. There's value in numbers, because I mentioned on Twitter, and I think it was like one of my most popular tweets of the weekend, that the mask mandate in Ottawa was basically dead. because you have people that are going into hotels, to the restaurants that are open, to stores, not wearing masks, and businesses have either decided that it's not worth trying to enforce or they don't care. So that's just one example of how a group of people saying we are going to be civilly disobedient, as the term goes, can change things. And then I noted, and you shared this with me, there's a story in the National Post this morning, health officials are hinting at ending COVID restrictions with a caveat, and not because of the truckers. Well, when we see public opinion lining up behind the truckers, and then also a shift in the past week in public opinion for ending restrictions, I don't think you can say this isn't the truckers that had a huge role in this.
Agreed. Your first comment about the mask is interesting. 2 weeks ago, I go around without a mask everywhere. I'm polite, and if they ask me to put on a mask, I always have it on me and say, oh, I forgot. Because the more we force people to ask us, the more they'll get tired of asking people, and it'll just end. So 2 weeks ago, I went into my local coffee shop. I start most of my mornings, walked in without a mask as usual. They all know me. Hey, how are you? The owner, whatever. And some woman comes up to me and she says, you're not wearing a mask. And then she saw my face turn as I looked down at her, and she said, oh, no. I don't want to wear the mask. How do you do it? I said, just take it off. Take it off. I said, you would be surprised how many times I'm waiting in line in a business or whatever. I don't have a mask. I sit there for a minute, 2 minutes, and everyone else slowly start taking their masks off. Right? And that's essentially what this convoy is. That's the spirit of this convoy.
So what is it that you're thinking is going to happen now? Because as I mentioned earlier in the show, and as you're no doubt aware, Justin Trudeau has not even done the feigned sympathy that I expected of, well, I understand the anger. I thought he would do some patronizing thing. No, he's just gone right to escalating.
Oh, that's exactly what I thought he would do. I actually put a prediction. I put in Twitter 2 hours before, prediction, Prime Minister Diversity Blackface is going to call everyone a racist, a neo-Nazi, unacceptable, and he's going to double down, because that's what extremists do. They have a binary worldview, and they have one strategy. And I hear from people in Ottawa who are in the know, are in contact with some people in the Liberal parties, and I do have some contacts, that the problem is Justin Trudeau himself, if he was there, he was the one pushing to agitate the truckers. He wants to see violence, which I thought was shocking. And I was told, yeah, the other people in the party are, Justin, that's not what we want to do. Why don't you just go on vacation right now, and we'll deal with this strategically. We're going to have a political solution to this. So that gives you the nature of what he feels, which is quite scary.
You've said that you have enough fuel, money, food that you could keep this going. Not you, but you as the movement, keep this going for years. Now, obviously, I hope there's no need to do that. I mean, my hope would be that rather swiftly a lot of these measures that we've been talking about are gone. But is that the plan, that these trucks will be there for as long as it takes, until every last COVID restriction is gone?
Yep. Yeah, that's it. Simple answer. I mean, I was trying to illustrate the point that A, we're not backing down, and B, we do have the ability to do that. We have more than enough money to cover the costs. We have more than enough truckers and trucks that are willing to do it in the long haul. And one of the videos I posted, somebody in the US sent it. I mean, it's amateur stuff for any trucker, but for average people to know, if they just disable the brake chambers, just take their slack adjustment screws out, remove them and put them in their pocket, throw them away, lock it in a safe in their truck, that truck can't be towed. It's not going anywhere. And another video from one of the truckers he just posted this morning, some woman explained to this trucker that when the city was calling the tow trucks in the neighborhood and in neighboring Quebec, to say we want to bring some, we need a fleet of tow trucks to come into Ottawa, the response from the tow truck companies were, "Oh, we all have COVID. Sorry." That's great.
So there's some solidarity there. It's that strike breaking mentality of I don't want to go against the brotherhood now, which is interesting because of how much the media has tried to paint the narrative that this is not representative of the trucking industry. That's been the thing of, oh, these aren't real truckers.
Yeah, I love how we define the trucking industry by trucking lobbyists. Trucking lobbyists are not inside a truck. They're usually part of the Liberal Party, as we see by the donations by the Trucking Association. So that's just an offshoot of the Liberal Party. They're getting lambasted online by people within the industry who are very, very livid with that organization. I have a feeling the woman who is running it is not going to be there for very much longer. It's quite an embarrassing organization at this point.
Let me ask you, Benjamin, about the mainstream media's most reviled press conference in the history of press conferences. This is Sunday. I was invited. A number of other independent journalists and some journalists from mainstream publications were invited. There wasn't a time cap. It wasn't one question, one follow-up. It was almost like a round table format of just ask you and your co-organizers, whatever. But you made the decision, which I didn't realize at the time until I got there, that you were only going to invite independent media, and specifically you said there had been a couple of outlets that you had banned, I think CBC and the Toronto Star, and obviously this went over very well online with some people and very poorly with other people, mainly the mainstream media reporters that were forced to just get the news from my Twitter feed and Kean Bexty's video stream. But in all seriousness, do you not believe that you should have been speaking to those people and should have been confronting a lot of what you say are the falsehoods head on?
Absolutely not, because they're not journalists, they're activists. And why do we need activists that are going to come into the room, take up half the floor space, and shout epithets and smears at us? That's not a conversation, that's not a dialogue, and that doesn't help you and the general public to find out what's truly going on. It's just disruptors, and we didn't need the disruptors. And we could see, that was one part of it, but we could also see online the very direct fake news stories that were being published by the Toronto Star and CBC News. Just complete falsehoods. Of our GoFundMe being frozen because of extremism and radicalization, and then the cartoon that Jordan Peterson retweeted that Toronto Star put. That is Maoist level of propaganda. It's disgusting. That has no place. Those sorts of unacceptable opinions have no place in a news conference, if that makes sense.
It does. So obviously this is something that as we've talked about, is going to be going on for the long haul. You're there for the long haul as well. What's next? What's it we should be watching out for this week?
Well, now is the waiting game, and they're going to learn that truckers are quite intelligent people. They have street smarts. They're very patient, because truckers, we do spend a lot of time waiting at calls and stuff. So we're just going to play this game of chess, and we're going to sit here and wait. And at some point, the government's going to have absolutely no choice but to either deal with us or decide we're going to drop the mandates, that we're going to follow the lead of Denmark, the United Kingdom, and other countries that have announced that they're removing the restrictions, which is what I predict they're going to do. Many politicians, especially our ones in government right now, they do tend to take the easy way, and the easy way for them is just to come up with that. They're trying to figure out the spin for that presser that makes them look good, right? Which is very difficult right now. And the longer they wait, the more difficult it's going to become. So I predict they're going to do an about face and try to claim victory. That, well, now we have the softer variants, the Omicron, people aren't dying from it. It's because of our restrictions that we saved all of you. We've heard Canadians, we love Canadians. We're going to drop everything and move on. And they'll try to claim victory. Nobody will believe it, and then they'll move on to the next catastrophe.
Well, I hope to be back in Ottawa soon. It was quite a sight to behold, and I'm glad I was able to take part in that inaugural weekend of it. Benjamin Dichter, good to talk to you again. Thanks for coming on today.
We are tentatively looking at a second press conference this weekend, so I will inform those of you in the media and of the details, and we'll talk then.
Duly noted. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks for listening to The Andrew Lawton Show. Support the program by donating to True North at www.tnc.news.